If you're just joining us, I'm finishing up feeding our Magellanic penguins. They're eating two types of fish, herring and capelin. I am feeding Miss Kate right now, and she's one of the birds that will actually eat both types of fish. Once you work with these guys long enough, you know what they prefer, what they don't prefer. She will actually eat herring as well. Now another bird, her name is Whatever. She will only eat capelin. Capelin's a smaller fish that we offer our birds. These are Magellanic penguins native to South America, Chile, and Argentina. But Kate, Robbie, Roxy, and Avery were all rescued off of the coast of Rio, Brazil. Not typically where you find these guys. We think they were looking for food, got lost along their way, and ended up in Rio, Brazil, but they were lucky enough to get rescued. Our birds are getting really close to that yearly molt. Magellanic penguins and all penguins actually go through something called a catastrophic molt. They replace all of their feathers once a year. It's pretty crazy to think about it, but Magellanic penguins have 75 feathers per square inch. We've actually had 13 chicks hatch here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So again, if you're just joining us, I'm finishing up feeding our Magellanic penguins. We currently have 20 on exhibit and 3 chicks behind the scenes. The chicks behind the scenes are now eating whole fish, but they're getting ready to graduate and do more independent swimming and also eventually join the rest of the birds on the habitat late summer, early fall. We have a yearly molt for these guys I was telling you a little bit about. We also have a yearly breeding season. These birds do replace their feathers once a year and go through a breeding season once a year. So it's pretty awesome to watch them go through those whole cycles here in our habitat. If they're not going through a molt or a breeding season, they're spending most of their time in the water. Magellanic penguins actually migrate up to 3,000 miles a year. And we think that's why some of those birds were getting stuck in Rio, Brazil, because they were trying to follow the migration of the fish. They eat small schooling fish, krill, squid. See if Paddles will eat that fish. There she goes. Every day our birds get a vitamin. Since the food is frozen and then thawed out, it does lose some of those nutrients. But it doesn't harm the animals to give them a vitamin because those supplements and nutrients get put right back in the fish. Just like you or I have vitamins, so do they. So it's our 6th breeding season on exhibit. So these birds are only interested in breeding one time out of the year. We usually see eggs in April and chicks in late May. Not all of our birds are paired up though. They are monogamous or faithful, but they don't all have a mate. If they do have a mate, besides this guy Fisher, he's a bachelor, they have a burrow. So the holes that you see behind me, those are actually nests for our birds where they can rest. Fisher was lucky enough to claim a burrow on his own, but that made Skipper and Jade try to take it away from him. So that burrow in the corner over there, that's Fisher's. The burrow right here, that's Jade and Skipper's. So you can see how that can kind of be a problem. They're kind of neighbors that live catty corner to each other. And like I mentioned, we have had 13 penguins hatch here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. If you go to explore.org, you can get a chance to see them behind the scenes. You can also see what our penguins are doing if you're not here. It's cool to watch the penguins do their thing at night when no one's around. One of my favorite things to do is watch what they like to do when we're not here. You see some of those personalities come to life and a little bit different. We have some bold personalities. I see all of what they do, but the more shy birds, sometimes they like to be sneaky. So when it's breeding season, Shim will actually take nesting material from some of the other burrows. And I always wondered how he'd have nesting material in the morning, but that's because he was stealing it from Floyd and Avery. We give these birds nesting material around late March, and we notice that that's when they start to get interested in building nests. So next year, it'll be breeding season number 7. It's kind of like clockwork. The birds spend a lot more time on land, and they really do ask us for that nesting material. We use sanitized palm fronds, and we stick it around different places of the habitat. But it's pretty fun to watch them build their nests. Now, if they were in their natural habitat, the males would arrive about 3 weeks prior to the females. They'd build that nice nest on the ground or in a hole by a plant, wherever they can reach it or build it. And then about 3 weeks after that, the females would arrive on the beach, pair up with the males they were already paired up with, maybe find a new mate if they didn't have one or they lost their mate. But again, they are monogamous or mate for life. Looks like our birds are done eating, but if you come back out here about 4 o'clock, I will give them their dinner for the day. It looks like we have a late arrival. Patsy's coming up to the bucket, so if you want to hang out for a few more minutes, I'm going to offer our birds fish. But that western gull makes it kind of hard, especially Patsy, because she likes to drop those. There she goes. So that's a really good demonstration of these guys swallowing their food whole. Herring are a little bit larger than the capelin are, but that is the only fish Patsy likes to eat. She just got herself 3 herring. Let's see if she wants 4. We offer these birds as much food as they want, especially if they're getting ready to do something like molt. So when you're a penguin, you have about 75 feathers per square inch. And you have to replace them once a year. So Patsy's actually had 6 herring today. That's a lot. So as Gath's right here, he's also had 6 herring. Now I say that's a lot because they usually average about, I'd say 3 to 4 if there isn't anything like a molt or a breeding season going on. But since there is, their diet is going to increase. And that is something we watch. We do change the amount of food that we feed our birds depending on what time of the year it is. If you take a look at the feathers of our birds, they are starting to look kind of worn. Don't tell them I told you that because they look pretty gorgeous. But some of the spacing in between the feathers are starting to show. And that's okay. They're going to go through this molt in about a month and a half. But if they were in their natural habitat, they would start to bulk up, meaning they would eat a lot more food. They almost eat about half of their body weight in food when they're getting ready for this molt. And then all of a sudden they stop eating and they go to land. And for about 3 weeks they just sit there. They're not feeling so great, but they do have to replace all of those feathers. So they live off those fat reserves. and then they leave the water with a brand new set of feathers. So Gats, who is spitting out capelin because he only wants herring, he learned that from the chicks. Or the chicks learned that from him. See, I'm going to offer whatever here some capelin. That is her name. She is our oldest bird. She is 16 years young. But she can be kind of a picky eater. Since these guys swallow their food whole, if the fish are bent or the mouths are open, those don't go down their throat quite right, so they spit them out. And that brings upon our buddy, the western gull, who gets some free food around here. One of my favorite things about working with these birds are their personalities. They make me laugh every single day I work with them, and I work with them 5 days a week. Never get tired of working with them. But by day 5, when they don't move out of the way, it's kind of fun. They know they can move out of the way if they want. Working with them for a while, they pretty much think of me as an equal. But I bring them their food, they know that I help take care of them, and they are very respectful as a result of that. People ask things like, do they bite you? Do they hurt you? Well, they can bite if they're trying to defend themselves. But we have to do yearly physicals for them. They're really forgiving and good. They know if I'm going to catch them up for something, they're going to be okay. It'll be over shortly, and we make it as comfortable for them as possible. In fact, one of our birds, Whatever, she likes to eat random objects that fall in the pool. So we've had to do an endoscopy for her where we put her to sleep and remove those foreign objects. And I'm the one that usually has to catch her from the bucket. And she's all right with it. We've gone through it a lot. Sometimes we have to metal detect her because she does like to eat junk. So if she's acting a little weird, or maybe she's not eating quite as many fish as she typically would, that would be a time for us to do a detection. So we do keep a very close eye on these guys. I work in the husbandry department, fancy word for animal health care. So my number one job is to make sure these animals are happy and thriving. Not just surviving, but thriving. They're doing very well in the area that they're in. They do rely on us 100% for their health care, but we have a team of veterinarians who, if I see anything is going on, they will come up and take a look, get a blood sample from the bird, and we go from there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, letting me feed our penguins, and enjoy the rest of your day here at the Aquarium of the Pacific.